So I chose Alice in Wonderland for this week because it's my favorite movie ever, actually. And we're going to be drawing the Cheshire Cat, sort of like in the Told You Would. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. It just feels so atmospheric and eerie, but also interesting, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It just the energy is totally unique. So I was just doing some sketches to space things out, but we're gonna start from the top. So I'll just put that aside. Um, we'll let Josie in here. I'm gonna zoom all the way out. So I'm sure you can see I have this cutting mat underneath me, and my page is only 5 inches wide and like however many long. It's probably like, yeah, 8.5 inches long. So I actually I don't have that big of a paper either way. And I like to do this because it's just faster to cover less area space during the lesson. So we're gonna be drawing the Cheshire Cat on like a big tree. So we're gonna start by placing his head with a circle. I'll just go around and around and around like that. And then his body. So the circle is like a little bit off to the left. His body is like a big bean coming out the side of his head. And then for his tail, I want to have it like a big S curve, kind of. Almost looks like the kind of shape that you would have for toothpaste, right? So that's our cat there, basically. Let's move on to the tree. Yeah, we're just gonna make like a big U shape going from underneath the cat, like that. And, like have some branches or something. And then on the sides of the paper here, we want to have the tree sort of like come in a little bit. And maybe like it's not entirely symmetrical because we're in Wonderland and things are a little weird. So on the base of this tree, usually in this scene, this is where he's like on top of the door to the Queen of Hearts castle. But I wanted to change it up a little bit and add like the this way, that way, yonder signs, the wooden signs that are nailed onto the trees that I told you would. So I like to start by just drawing different rhombuses or rectangles, but they're always on an angle. And we can do it like different sizes here. We got that guy. Just like super fast. And maybe we'll have some like that. So this is basically step one right here. And so continuing with our signs, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add like sort of a 3D effect to them. And so on some sides, we're gonna add like a little extra kind of thing. little rectangle. So this is about parallel lines. So when I go out this way, the line I draw here is parallel, and this line is going to be parallel to this line. So same thing, this line is parallel to this line, and this line is going to be parallel to this line, and this line is going to be parallel to that line. So that's really how we, and I will do it again like 5 more times so that you can really get what I'm talking about, and I'll even zoom in to help you out. So please, if you're struggling, pay attention. We got our nice little rhombus here. I'm sorry to spur on a geometry class on you guys. So I'm gonna start with these two parallel lines, connect it with this parallel line, draw another parallel line at that corner, and then finish it off with that. We're gonna do the same thing with this big rectangle. We got our parallel lines, another parallel line, and another parallel line. So we got the side and the top. So really with these, like, you're only going to be able to see the sides and the top. I want to try something weird. Yeah, so it still works that way. You would think that because this is larger, it's closer, but I do want it to be like that it's smaller. Um, so right, we're gonna go again. More parallel lines. Actually, I think this one is fine like this with just that side. And then we're gonna do it one last time here. Of course, it does not have to be perfect. We're not doing this with a ruler. The other thing I want to do is like along the edge where we don't have the extra thickness, I really want to make the wood like sort of jagged. Like it was sort of haphazardly cut out. Or like carved out, sort of. As long as they meet at the corners, you know, we should be good to go and it won't be like super immersion breaking. So those are our signs, they're done, and our tree is pretty much done with the sketching for now. So we're gonna go on to our Cheshire Cat here. He's our little bestie. So we drew the circle. I'm gonna draw his chin like a little bit up because we actually need to show his arms and like his front belly, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Like he's resting on his tummy, and you see that a little bit like under his head. So I drew this shape around, and that's gonna guide us to place our arms for him. So I'm gonna start with that shape, bring it around in a circle, and then sort of like that, you know? And then we're gonna do something similar over here, but we're we're drawing it from a different angle, so. And then we'll get the easy part out of the way. We'll draw the rest of his body kind of thing. It's like, this is a very simple shape. This is sort of, his leg is like tucked underneath his own body. We kind of curve down slightly and then go all the way out in a circular round. He's a chonky boy. We go up to show his leg and then down to show his belly. And then for his tail, what I really want is for it to be thinner towards the base and then really thick. Let me see if I can like achieve that. Yeah. We erase some of those extra lines so that we're not super confused about where. We can even take it out this way to make it even more like bushy, right? Like that. So now we're going to work on a space. This is the hardest part of the entire lesson. So if you have any questions, if you need me to slow down, please let me know and I will gladly. But this will be the most challenging part of the lesson. So once you get over this, it's smooth sailing from here. So the Cheshire Cat's face has sort of like two components. We got his like big toothy grin, and that part of his face is like a paler color, and then we have his eyes and his ears, which is like the dark fur. So we are starting his chin on top of his hands, or his paws. His paws. So it's not fully a perfect circle like we drew at the beginning. And his chin is like, it's like an exaggerated form of a, a big smile. This is basically like this shape. If I were to put teeth separations, that's a big toothy grin right there. But that's not what his mouth looks like. Although that looks kind of cool. But it's just to illustrate that like his chin really is just like a bigger version of his smile. In the middle, top is his nose. So we're gonna do a little like oval, but it'll come to a soft point at the bottom. Like it's not super sharp, it's still round, but we're gonna draw a line going down from that point slightly. Now above his nose, we got his eyes. And think of them like to be the shape of eggs is like the best way I can. And they're like facing into each other a little bit. He has these. Well, let's actually finish drawing the rest of his head. So from the ends of his cheeks, his dark fur goes a little bit over, and it kind of comes to like a a sprout. I don't know, at the top of his head here. We're gonna draw his ears. They're like these little triangles right in the middle. We're gonna put his two little pupils looking off to the side a little bit. And then he has these big eyebrows. These big, thick eyebrows. Um, Last but not least is his smile. So it really goes, doesn't necessarily go ear to ear because they're all the way up at the top of his head, but it does go quite, quite wide. So like a slim crescent moon, you know? And we're starting sort of at the line that we drew. I want to add some curve to it. And then from here, we can add his teeth, slightly curved. Around here, we also want his like whiskers. They're not very long and they're not very big. So, yeah. He's missing something so important though. You know, his stripes. We're gonna start at his tail because this is like the biggest stripe. And we're just gonna go down his tail. They're curved. You do not want to draw straight lines because it'll break the illusion. They're curved. They're curved like it wouldn't be a parallel line because they're curves, but sort of like a radiating kind of thing. And they go in the opposite direction, so his tail curves actually go in the opposite direction from his body curves. But it's really like it's curved because it's going around his body. His body is round, so the stripes, even though we think of stripes as like a straight line, they're curved. Because, like I said, we got a round boy. We're actually making really good time on this. I'm so excited. And then here for his arms, we're just gonna start a new set. And it's gonna stop right at his paw. And then there's like one stripe like below his body. So there we go. Um, you could for real stop here if you want. I mean, I think he looks pretty cute, right? But of course, you already know, we gotta color him in. And there's no better method than our lovely paint markers. Paint markers have saved my life. I love them so much. I especially love these. They're like $10 on Amazon for a set of 24. We have them at the library as well, at Crestwood Library. So I hope they're out at the table because yeah, this is what we're using. I'm not gonna take them all out, gee. But let's pick out the colors we're gonna use. Got dark pink, light pink, purple. We need some yellow. We need this yellow, the lightest yellow imaginable. Um, some blues. Definitely we need black. And for fun, let's get out orange. Maybe the other pink and the dark blue. So what I want to begin with is the background colors because yeah, I feel like working from the back towards the foreground is like really it's one of my favorite like ways to go about it. So I actually apologize. I cannot see. I actually can't. I really can't see. And you guys will see very soon once I put the color on what I'm coloring in. Like you absolutely can see that. I just have to turn off the lights. So I'm going in with dark green, like a dark turquoise for the background here.
Actually, your hand is blocking the light, so it's fine.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
Just so you know.
Thank you. But you can see the color anyway. Like
Absolutely.
we have everything
Absolutely.
drawn out, so that's fine. So I like to go around my sort of like main pieces, if that makes sense. Slowly outlining them. I'm using these are double tipped markers. I'm using the like the blunt tip here just because it like gives me big even coverage, but around his head over here, I'm gonna have to switch to the brush tip. I wanted some tree branches over here, and we will be able to implement that on top. We're going to layer and layer and layer this background color, these background colors. So these sides here are pretty easy. We're just gonna, fill them in like whatever. Super duper easy. It's just sort of to represent like the rest of the forest. And then I think here we're gonna do the same up top. Another thing I think I want to be mindful of is going from light to dark. So this background is already dark, so this actually should be the lightest color in it. Sometimes with paint markers, you can overlap a lighter color on top of a darker color. I've had mixed results with these specific markers. I'm not going to use more expensive ones because I want to make sure that this is accessible to everybody and that we're all on the same playing fields. So yeah, you can feel like even though you're using affordable supplies, you can still make great art. So when I fill in, I actually like to follow the contours of like my outline, if you notice. Like that's sort of the shape of his tail, and I'm like filling in by following the shape of his tail. Um, Instead of just coloring in scrambled. We're gonna go in with and I'm also turning my page around constantly to accommodate the comfort of my wrist rotation. That's another thing that is really important. That takes time to develop, but is worth developing for sure. So yeah, we got that outlined with the brush tip, so we can go back in with our blunt tip and fill in the rest here. So we're gonna do one of my favorite tried and true methods. Our next class this month is gonna be a bunch of this. You guys are gonna go crazy. Um, I'm gonna take this dark blue and I'm gonna put a bunch of like little dots everywhere, especially like really close to the cat himself. Really quickly, I'm not thinking about I'm not deliberating over each dot placement. It's okay if they overlap. It's okay if I place two dots on top of each other. It's fine. As long as we get the visual sense of like crowding. So I really want it to be really dense, like around his head here. Maybe a little bit of his body as well. And then I want it to sort of taper off, like around his tail, where I'm being more intentional about where we put the dots, you know? See, like this is far more dense than this. So I really want to have a smooth transition between the two though. So I'm going to add more dots until I feel like yeah, right? It might be useful up here to go in with the green again and do some dots to just hide like some of those streaks. But that'll be an extra step. We won't cover that because I'm trying to be very timely. If I pull this off in an hour, it'll be really cool. I'll just say that. We're gonna do the same thing over here, but like sort of medium density, I guess. Nothing nuts. I mean, we can do a little bit more like closer to the tree trunk if we really want to, but it's not super necessary. And we're doing this fast. You see how fast I'm doing this? I'm doing like more than one a second. Like I'm not thinking about where I'm placing those dots. Do not deliberate over that. It's not important. It's really not. This is a background element. And sometimes you got to learn. I know a lot of artists like will love to draw characters, but have no idea how to place them in a setting. I have the opposite talent. From my design, my experience in design and architecture. So I really know how to make a background count and how to have things pop against one. We're gonna switch to black. We're going with black. We have a black marker. You can use a Sharpie if you want. If you're an adult and you're on a surface like this, you're not doing it directly on top of your furniture or something. Like this is what I have this for. Like you can see all my Sharpie marks and stuff. We're gonna add some black. This background is dark. It's gonna be high contrast between the background and the foreground and our main character elements. Like between our trunk and our signs and everything. This is gonna be different. So I actually don't know what I'm gonna do for the tree trunk. Let's think. I'm thinking right now about it. We're gonna do a lot of black near the Cheshire Cat, almost like no green. Almost no green with this black. No green, no green, no green, almost no green. It's really dark around him, and this will make sure that when we color him in like our bright pastel pink, he's going to pop out like crazy. And it's gonna look really cool. We're gonna have the black taper off a little bit. Same thing, we're gonna do it right here. No green, no green, no green. Stamp it out basically. But do not like do not streak, do not go back and forth. Do it with dots because that implies dots to me is visual shorthand for leaves from a distance because they're too far away to draw super detailed. But if you draw them as dots, then the vision is clear, you know, they're leaves just really far in the background. I have a few black dots out here. Okay. So this tree, y'all, I think we're gonna go light to dark and we're gonna start with this light blue. So let me zoom out because the tree spans the whole thing. So what we're gonna do first is I'm going to outline these signs that we drew. They were kind of fun to draw, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this whole thing has been, so this movie is a big influence on my visual style and artistic sensibilities. It's a big influence on the kind of media that I like. Alice in Wonderland is kind of like the first story where a character like leaves their own world, the real world, and ends up in a fantasy one, which is a pretty popular story archetype these days. You think of something like Coraline, that happens in Coraline, and she has her rabbit hole moment when she goes through the little door. Or if you saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, that's the same thing, and they even have mushrooms that like change your physical appearance, like in Alice in Wonderland. But when the Mario Brothers go from Brooklyn to the Mushroom Kingdom, they go through the pipe, which is like their rabbit hole moment, you know? And down the rabbit hole is sort of like a colloquial phrase these days of just like deep diving into a subject, which I think is really cool. So we outlined all that. Let's outline the rest of our tree. I know it's weird that our tree is blue, but I promise it won't be. This will just be like the highlight color. And I'm using the brush tip. I'm getting some great heavy coverage with it. So we got our two branches down there. I just want to go back in and like fill it in with the green. At the very least. You know, we can do some dots later, but because I already showed you guys how to do that. Let's keep going with with this trunk and these branches. Let's go around this curve here. You see how like how clearly it almost looks like I'm putting like painter's tape around everything. If you use painter's tape, blue painter's tape, you know. And so this we're going to very intentionally fill in with like streaks because that'll mimic the texture of the bark. So long continuous streaks overlapping each other. You know, like so, are very good. And you can make them wobble a little bit, you know, the bark is not perfectly straight. We're in Wonderland, so things are a little more whimsical and out of the ordinary. I'm really loving the way this is coming out. I'm like so happy right now. We're 20 minutes out. So I really don't know if we'll color everything in. I know what I must do with these signs though. I have to erase them a little bit. I drew them really hard so that you guys could see on the camera. But before we cover them with color, we really like don't want the pencil marks to show through unless you do. I mean, that's fine, but I don't. So I'm gonna erase them a little bit, but not yet. So that's our first pass of the tree bark. Now we're going to go in with our dark purple and sort of do the same thing, basically. But we're going to leave like a lot of blue visible. And we're doing it this way because dark is easier to cover, used to cover the light versus the other way around. It would be harder to get the blue to show on the purple. I'm being more sort of painterly with these strokes. You know, we're not super like, we're definitely not covering every little inch here. But it will still be mostly purple. And we'll just like fill in sort of these spaces between the signs here. I'm sure you can tell that I'm like going over the lines a little bit. That's fine. Because again, we're using paint markers, acrylic paint markers. So while it is harder to go over dark colors with light colors, it is not impossible. You just need to add more layers. So dude, check that out. We got our trunk. I'm gonna add some black like right under that here. Just like a little bit. And I guess we could do the same for our signs. Okay. I'm adding some black to the bark, but not as much as the blue or the purple, and much thinner strokes as well. Wow. Okay. Um, I need to erase very lightly, like my Cheshire drawing. I got too much pencil going on, too much graphite. But you know, we're gonna color him in, so it's gonna be cute. So, you know, we got the light pink and the dark pink. Or actually, we got three pinks. We got light pink, middle, and darkest. We're gonna leave light pink aside and we're just going to do like medium pink and dark pink for now. I'm gonna just make sure that I have all these like scuff marks and stuff like erased off my paper so that it doesn't come through. So a good place I like to start whenever I color in the Cheshire Cat is the end of his tail because it's always the light pink. And so you can always do the alternating pattern based on that. So again, like stripe by stripe, I guess, I'm just gonna make sure that I don't have that many pencil markations. Because this is light, the pencil will definitely show through. At least with these markers in particular, I noticed. Let's like erase that. We got some like there, and then it's gonna continue. There's a little bit. These lines are much cleaner, so There's less erasing involved, thankfully. I'm gonna do his arms. And we're going to go around his little paws there. And like, yeah, Scoot. Now we're gonna go in with our dark pink. Same thing. You already know. We're just gonna fill in the opposite. That is very not good. I don't like it. I'm gonna use this other dark pink that I have. There we go. Like that shows up, you know? That other dark pink was like, it was very watery. It was not very pigmented. So yeah, we're going in with our brush tip, mainly because we want precision. So boom, that's his tail. We're gonna go on to his body. And we're gonna use this to color in the top half of his face as well. Wow, he's my favorite character to draw from this movie. I swear, I don't know. Actually, like I have a mural on my wall and he's on it. Well, it's on my door, but he's on it. And I painted him there, so you know. Right, we're coloring in his arms here. I think I kind of made a mistake, low key, with his face. I went over his chin because I cannot see like at all. So I'm gonna go with the light pink and like color in his ears like a little bit, and then we're gonna color in his chin, and this is the super light pink. Let's see, look, we like covered that right up. It's nothing to worry about. His paws are gonna be the same color as well. And I actually want to get some of that other pink under here. So we left that out. So now we're going to go around his ears with our dark pink. He has like this fur coming up, so I really want that precision. Going to try my best to leave his eyebrows alone because this color will cover it. And we're going to outline his eyes. And his nose is the same color, but I want to add a little bit of that purple to it because I think his nose looks better. It has purple on it. So now we got yellow for his eyes. His eyes are yellow. And we're just gonna fill them in. Oh, I just realized we forgot to fill in the rest of his cheek there. That's him colored in. We only have 4 minutes left. So we weren't able to get to the signs, but I hope that it's like, well, maybe I'll do one. I'll do one. I'll do this one right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it orange and I'm gonna use light orange and dark orange. I'm going to color in the whole thing light orange. Just like super quickly. And fill in all the white spaces. And then with the dark orange, we're going to go in with our side dimension. And you literally want to do that for every single sign. So if you make like a green sign, um, or a blue sign, or a yellow sign, or a red sign, you want to do it like that, basically. Like I'll do it again with the orange because I actually like the way it looks a lot. I guess you could write whatever you want on them, but usually they say like this way, that way, yonder. Little things like that. Could put your name in one of them. I think that would be cool. Like, see, if I want to make a yellow one, I could do this yellow here. Color in the whole thing yellow, and then I'll use that light orange as the shadow. Check that out. These look like slices of bread a little bit. I don't know.
I was thinking cheese blocks.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. So I guess, don't make them all orange. Do like a green one or something. Like you could do green with these two as well. Um, but that's time, I'm pretty sure. So we almost made it to the end. But I think you guys got it from here.
Would you highlight anything on the face of the cat? Like
Um, I would go in with my Sharpie pen and outline
the teeth
his
and stuff?
features,
Yeah.
like his eyebrows, his pupils, his eyes. I would outline his whiskers, you know, and of course, his big, beautiful smile. I would outline his body as well. Like I would outline his head and his body so that because they're all the same color, they kind of blend in. Like, like go like that, you know. I would not go as far as to outline his stripes though, because I think that that's a little bit unnecessary. Just like his different body parts, like his arms, his belly, his tail, like just so that there's a separation. And then of course I would definitely use this to go like, write some stuff like that. Like I'll put my signature here to be cheeky, and I'd probably put like the date on this one or something. Yeah, that's what I would do with it. Please invest in Sharpie pens. They're great. That's time. I'm not touching it anymore. You see the whole thing? Yeah.